We are at a very interesting time and space with reference to the consumer electronics industry. It always fascinates me with what is it doing in the current context and what could it do. Because we, at least our generation, has seen, as I was talking, the flip phones too, which is going to come on your handphone and perhaps going to get into your skin. Lot can happen on consumer electronics. I'm excited to speak to you. Topic as we speak about is digital smart manufacturing, connecting to the trend how it goes. So I would like to start with a very young member, he calls himself, but we want to listen from you, Rahul. When I looked at Zetwerk, it indeed connected me with when I say fascinating and interesting. You are perhaps the youngest in terms of a company, what you are here. But more importantly, we are looking at you as a reverse mentoring. So tell us more about you, Zetwerk, and what do you do?
We are not only an electronic manufacturing service company, we're trying to be an integrator. So what's happening is that there are a lot of places where a lot of technology is residing, a lot of expertise are residing. However, what is required is the collaboration between different entities, the supplier, the brand, the technology provider, the integrator is what we are then in the end. That's what we're doing at a global scale. At the same time, trying to work with different entities and trying to create supply chains which does not exist previously in India. That is something which we are trying to bring on a table as of today. Other than that, what we have realized is that today people have gone into the idea of having sprints. They do 15-day sprints or a 30-day sprint, but it doesn't exist as much in manufacturing. The agility and speed is sometimes missing, and that's what we want to provide by integrating people and by ourselves being agile to the customer and keeping the end outcome first. So this is a conglomeration of technology, services, manufacturing across different folks, where Zetwerk's trying to create an ecosystem and trying to deliver the end outcome as fast as possible in as agile manner as possible.
You're managing a very large organization, been in the industry for decades now, and you don't wear one hat, you wear three hats. You're managing a manufacturing unit, you're managing a shared services, which has beyond what you traditionally call a HR purchase, it also has a digital unit into it. So how do you see that, and what are the new technologies that you are adopting to bring what Rahul mentioned on speed and the agility into the conglomerate, which is known for quality itself?
Consumer electronics, which keeps changing all the time, right? So we want to have some platform, some common theme, but also work at the customer speed in every market that we operate. So that's kind of what we're trying to do.
The design to cost is an important aspect, and there are a lot of changes happening. What's your viewpoint on design to cost?
Consumer electronics, the challenge is that the price point meeting is extremely difficult, right? And all the engineers that are here, generally, they are familiar only with large names. Either they want to design with TI, Intel, or whatever, right? But if you open up something which has been cost competitive, which is coming from China, and if you sort of open it, you may not find any names there. Some of these names, right? So how do you develop the ecosystem here so that we could design with something which is more cost effective and something which is locally available, and then you could do that. That's the only way, right? Price is not a problem, but the bigger problem is the agility. I mean, the life, 20 years and all the life they want.
How do you manage this transition from feature at no cost, and how are you coping up as a company?
I would like to put the consumer at the center of it, because any company can artificially create new units, new designs, new design for cost, design for value, etc. But the consumer is not nodding his head, right? Then all of that is a failure. Today's consumer is also being extremely cautious about digital well-being, right? Not just for when you give the mobile to your kids, but to oneself also, right? So we at Samsung have to do this balance for the balancing act for the consumer, saying that one thing we have to create like a high quality mobile at low cost, but also be extremely smart in making sure that mobile lasts for its lifetime. Right? So it's a fine balancing act where all of this comes together with design, cost, the aesthetics of it, long lasting, all of that.
It is very, very fundamental in product to have the best of the features, but it is equally important to have those features available at affordable prices. So we do believe as a company that making sure that our products are available at affordable prices is extremely important. We just draw the pyramid and look at how the work that we do can touch the bottom half of the pyramid over here.
Factories of future need to have a combination of multiple factors, as you highlighted. It's not just a cost, resilient and all. Sustainability is important. How flex is moving towards it.
The modern day manufacturing, the modern day companies, and even consumers are basically very focused on sustainability. And that's what every organization and company should follow. The consumers are also very conscious about sustainability. As an organization, we're just not doing manufacturing, we're also doing a lot of reverse logistics and bringing in circular economy as a value-added service back to their customers, trying to give them an integrated model from design to manufacturing and back into reverse logistics to the circular economy.
True value of digital comes through when you have a complete visibility of entire value chain, right? In this, starting from planning to sourcing to making to deliver.
We have to understand the complete channel or the supply chain because there are multiple layers and the parts are shipped through multiple layers, right? So our effort is now to understand more in terms of how long it takes for our parts to end up in the final product, which then touches the consumer, right? So that's where we are spending more time and energy to kind of integrate this whole supply chain and get advanced information. So that's on the front end. Similarly, on the back end, we buy a lot of metal resins.
Digital is a competitive advantage when you have created this decentralized manufacturing ecosystem. And Zetwerk kind of mastered that art, if I could use the word, having a look at it from a distance. So what was the trigger for you guys to go ahead with this kind of thought? And what has been the challenge?
Where Balaji says it's a consumer at heart. For us, we are a B2B company, so customers at heart all the time, right? So customer, if they think about consumers, we think about consumer as well. So whatever they're thinking, we think about that. A huge need for digitization. But what was missing particularly was that a lot of things that were happening with respect to large factories. Whereas a lot of suppliers don't work in large factories. Right? And for them, they really require hand-holding. That's where we came in picture, where hand-holding became, along with software, a service for them. Sometimes you don't even realize that you're not selling software, you're selling yourself along with the software, and he's probably thinking he's paying for you, in a way he's paying for the software. So it's an integrated service of software and people that we started working on with our suppliers.
You manage a lot of data insights, you manage a lot of data centers at the same time, all the manufacturing ones. So what are those top 3 use cases that has given you a lot of impactful results?
What Samsung has done is it is actually kind of split the manufacturing into multiple geographies across the world. There are multiple factories in the US, across the globe. The second part is also the software part, which is the brain, right? So in India itself, right, there are like almost 4 such software development centers, right? Why do we have? Split 2 things, right? One is a set of use cases which are generic across the globe. We try to kind of understand what are the real life use cases and try to bring those into our factories and test them, detailing about what the consumer really needs, like including the pressure cooker sound, to a kid dropping the phone, to like advanced use cases like a 5G or connecting everything in the house with IoT, etc. So all of those kind of keep changes our manufacturing extremely rapidly, right? Because the same technology is not like going to live after for 6 months, sometimes to a few years.
Yeah.
So that rapid change has to happen. So that's what goes through our factories.
A lot of change happening in the industry. The Industry 4.0 perhaps is an old one, and next is perhaps Industry 5.0, which is nothing but AI-enabled factories, right? Santosh, I'm sure, as you rightly said, the wafers are extremely, very high precision manufacturing. There are only robots working on, hardly any people seen there. The lights of factories are the reality there long ago, not now. Now the next frontier is the AI-enabled factories. A lot of data insights there. So what is Texas Instrument India is looking at that as?
50 to 60% of our worldwide revenue business comes from these 2 segments, industrial and automotive. So we are absolutely looking at creating our products where there are people working in factories, but along with them, there are robots working on it, right? So look at the challenges that we have to do as a semiconductor vendor, as a system supplier to these products. Right? We got to look at it to make sure that we identify what are the safety concerns. The primary most important thing is that we have to design the products that robots are working on, which is most efficient for them, right? Then we got to look at it where creativity, where there is differentiation, where there is added value that people will add, but make sure that they can work along with robots without really creating any kind of problem, A, for themselves, B, to the product that they're trying to do, and C, to the robots that are out there working around, right? So it's actually a system where safety and security is actually built in to all kinds of products that you're thinking, right? While this is an automation car factory environment that we talk, industrial systems that play in, right? The kind of data that we have to send through this high-speed connectivity that is out there and the visualization of the data that is really required, not necessarily by humans, but by machines, right? We look at these kind of systems as distributed intelligence systems that are sitting out there in factories. And these are not the factories of tomorrow. These are actually really factories of today.
Oh, very when you say factories of today's.
AI can actually be used to create a lot of simulations. And I'll give you a very classic example of that. Factories don't need to be set up. You can actually, first of all, set up a digital twin of a factory. Put in your equipment, put in your headcounts, put in your robots, put in everything. Do hundreds and thousands of simulations. And come back and say that this is the best combination on how this factory is doing.
Yeah.
So this whole concept of digital twin is the new age concept where AI, VR, Industry 4.0, all those concepts can actually come together, simulate it so many times, have so many iterations, come with the best combination, and when you go and set it up, you've got the most efficient, cost-effective factory what you can.
Well said, yeah. A lot of simulation need to happen at design stage itself. So I can't think of anyone else than Amit talking about it. Amit, what do you think? Do you agree with their points?
It is definitely required because if you see, predominantly the processes have been there in the past also, and the industry has been working pretty neatly that time also. But what was missing was there was a lot of data points which were all working in silos. Now what's needed is all these silos somehow should get combined, and an AI is only one which can actually give you a recommendation much faster than a human. Correct. So that's why AI is required, and you could actually get a recommendation fast whether this particular model that I'm trying to use is actually useful or not. So AI from that perspective is definitely needed, I think.
How much of investment have you started making in these new age technologies?
I think our investment majorly is in software development, which is always a futuristic investment, and it's continuous investment you keep on doing. AI is something which comes into picture when you have a lot of data.
Yeah.
So our first job was to create enough data with a lot of suppliers because the things weren't digitized for you to even have something of the nature of give predictive analysis before you can jump to AI. So our thought process has always been that drive visibility as much as possible. Of course, manufacturing 4.0 and the likes of things which others are doing out here is something which you have to plug in our software into. And that's a continuous activity. We keep on learning from folks wherever we see an opportunity where visibility, which can be driven whether through new instruments, through new technologies, we try to deploy it into our system and try to give that visibility to our customer so that they can take better data, better decisions. And that's a continuous activity.
There's a big threat happening all over the world, right? When you open your systems out, the cybersecurity is where perhaps we will lose our sleep as we go further. I'm not sure about it. It's like I want you to bring in the concept.
This is a very important agenda point. It's of course profitability, growth, all kind of things, right? But this is it's one important element at the board level. So we have to be part of the ecosystem, keep learning from what is happening around, and keep investing.
Ecosystem plays an important role when learning. Now you're learning from everything. You're learning from consulting firms like Bain. You're learning from ecosystem players like Zetwerk. You're learning from Texas Instruments. You're learning from everywhere, even the universities and all.
Absolutely.
So my question, especially to you, Balaji, I'm sure when Samsung came to India, you're using a lot of local to local. What's your viewpoint on Indian ecosystem of supplier, customers and customers, all of that together? What's your viewpoint on that?
Two ways to look at it, right? Like one is India in its absolute sense, or comparing India with, let's say, a mature market like US or China, etc. Right? So I actually want to look at the former because the latter most of us know and like it's been talked enough in the industry. But just briefly on the second point, right? Are we like China yet? Probably not. From a Samsung perspective, right, we actually look at a slightly long term with our suppliers and distributors. What we believe is called co-prosperity. We truly believe in like growing our ecosystem, be it online or offline. Both are important to us.
How these larger organizations who have been like digitally enabled are now digitally driven. What triggered you guys to really become digitally driven? Resistance to change, not just at the bigger organization, that's anyway there, even at SMEs, because for them, what is in it for me is the most important question. Rahul, Zetwerk, you guys have 5,000 plus suppliers already into it. Like, how did you manage this resistance to change?
Thing is, you need to figure out what he wants first. SME definitely wants orders first. Right? You can't miss out in business for the sake of adopting technology.
Okay.
You can't miss out in business, right? So you need to give him business, and when you give him business, he's ready to give you a lot more things. Right? He's ready to change. He's making money. He's ready to invest as much as you want, and this is more investment in terms of attitude,
Right.
rather than in terms of money, right? And if attitude change can help him get more orders, he's more than ready to invest into it, and that's what we're trying to do out at our place, right? First focus on what he wants, and then we focus on what we want.
There's a very important member in this ecosystem is talent, right? And that too, especially a company like you where you're growing from leaps and bounds, 1,000 to 2,000 in very soon time, you're going to get a lot of digital, I won't say driven, but they're digital talent coming up on the board. How do you integrate them?
Today we are shipping laptop even before the person joins. So that's a leap of trust, right? And that's how you attract talent.
There is an important point of design ecosystem, right? What's your viewpoint on design ecosystem in India?
We don't own the manufacturing, let's say, assets. Right? Basically, we are fabless design company.
Yeah.
So what we do is, till the manufacturing, actually, the assembly part happens, we try to do as much as possible for that. So we do a lot of those activities there, and try to do some predictive analysis there, what could go, because anything going wrong there would set me at least 6 months, 7 months back. Because I have to design and the whole thing new once again. And that takes a new cycle, because in our line of work, we are not just limited at design or very small testing that is done.
It's evolving.
Yeah.
It's going in a right direction, and India is frontier there on that front going
I am
forward.
not sure. I mean, again, coming back to Balaji's point, he said that we are actually growing, but I think we are not there at all,
Yet.
because we have a concept of make in India, but I think we are a concept of assemble in India.
Okay.
We don't do make in India, right? We don't manufacture here as such. Pretty much it's an assemble in India.
If you do a year-on-year comparison on India's balance sheet on a make in India, then we are evolving in the right track. But if you go and compare, open it up with China or Europe, there's a long way to go catch up, right?
We do understand the design cycle, and I think even the box manufacturers, right, also do understand. I do think in the last 10 years or so, we have accelerated quite a bit.
I mean,
and
I'm
we are
sure.
at the verge of
Yeah,
doing in the
design, I do not have a complaint.
What's the success mantra for an organization to be making a right steps to go for a digitally driven, a factories of future, an organization?
One number is common for us: 100,000 customers, 100,000 products.
Mhm.
That's what Texas Instruments says. And we are willing to supply to them, whichever part of the world that they are, in a very short amount of time when they reach it. Mantra 2 is that always hire the best people.
We don't treat ourselves as the alone entity who's trying to solve for stuff. Right? We don't succeed unless our customers succeed. We don't succeed unless our suppliers. So how do we make sure all of us succeed together? And looking at the pain points while working as an intermediary, our job is to ensure that our customers' problems are getting solved, and we're solving the problems of our suppliers as well. We can't really live in a world where we say, this is what I want. This is what the ecosystem wants. And that's what has been helping us to create an ecosystem which is extending beyond us, which helps in delivering the right outcome, whether it be a B2B product or a B2C product.
The proof of concept is no more a point. It's a proof of scale. Whatever digital solutions you do it, while it's good to check the concept and all that, now everyone is looking like, can I scale this particular solution? Horizontally deployment or vertical deployment or multiple plants and all that. So what has Samsung done that? Is that also a thought at Samsung to look at proof of scale?
Everything that we build is for scale, right?
Yeah.
And that's how our business is, and that's how our consumers' expectation is. Our focus is for the next few years, be it India or for global, is to actually build for the world from Bangalore or from Delhi, where our centers are primarily. The second thing is actually build for scale, like, because without scale, Samsung doesn't exist.
Ecosystem which is evolving, companies which are in the 100 plus years or 50 years plus are turning out to be a manufacturing companies, turning out to be a software companies. A company which started as a software company has turned out to be a manufacturing company. Lots happening in the world, but very, very positive outlook. And we firmly believe that the digital is a competitive advantage if you do it right. You have to do a proper blueprinting, understand what are the right use cases, invest for the scale, and then see the results and then create a pattern and move on to it. Thank you so much for spending your valuable evening with us. It's been a great pleasure hosting this, and I really cherish this conversation for years to come.